And a jolly good morning to you from a bright and breezy December morning here in the Hertfordshire village of Pirton, outside the Motte & Bailey pub. And I've not done a walk like this for a little while. It's been other stuff around Europe and London and different parts of the UK. So I thought I'd do another little close to home video on this beautifully crisp morning, just to remind ourselves that getting out and about in the UK on foot or on your bike or just in the fresh air generally is quite a good thing to do. And despite the fact it's, I think, about 4 or 5 Celsius with a quite cool breeze, the sun is out. It's just coming up over those cottages over there. And I'm going to take a walk today up to the top of Hitchin Hill, which is part of the Chiltern Downs or Chiltern Hills, just a small little section of it at the eastern end. And before they just taper down to nothing out in East Anglia, in Cambridgeshire and the eastern part of Hertfordshire. We're in North Herts here, and yes, I mean, as hills go, we're not talking the Lake District, we're not talking the Peak District or the Highlands of Scotland, but we're talking some hills that you can get a half decent walk out of. And indeed, at each end of the walk, you will find a nice public house that you may want to go and visit, either at the beginning or the end, or if you really feel Christmassy, both. It's quite early in the morning here at the moment, so they wouldn't be open if you're going to do this and factoring in chance to go in one of the pubs and have a little drink or something to eat, or a coffee, whichever you choose. Then of course leave it until a time they're actually open. Anyway, so I've just walked out of the village of Pirton now to what is known as Wood Lane. I'm not sure if you'll find Wood Lane as such on the Google Maps, because it's a footpath really rather than a lane that cars can go down, so it may well not appear on there. You will find it on an app called Go Jauntly, and if you were to stand outside the Motte & Bailey pub in Pirton and put in the view in Pegsdon, and for sure it will route you this way up Wood Lane, over the top of the hills and back down into Pegsdon. Now, there's going to be 2 ways you can get to the view. There's the shorter walk and the longer walk, and today I'm going to take the longer walk, but I will point out the shorter walk. And in fact, the rear part of my walk here will be coming back via the shorter walk. So it depends on what you want to do, how far you want to walk. The longer walk all the way round to the pub, the view, would be round about around about 4 miles, I should say. The shorter walk is about 3, and if you do the full circle back to Pirton, you're looking at getting on towards 7 miles. That's probably slightly high figures there, but the app, if you use, say, the Go Jaunt, the app, it will tell you obviously the actual distances. But yeah, it's a nice round trip. Or if you have 2 cars and one car parks at one and the other, you could do a little shuttle service to get yourselves between the 2, but I would consider that to be a bit of a waste of fuel and a bit of a waste of your time. You might as well just walk it. Start at one, walk to the other and walk back again. And that is a lovely country walk here in North Hertfordshire. In winter time, it can be a little bit damp and cool along Wood Lane just here, and in summertime it's a fantastic shade from hot sunshine. So dependent on what floats your boat, you can take the alternative of walking, going through a gap in the hedge and walking parallel to the footpath just next to this field, where you'll get the sunshine shining upon you, or you can hide back in there on a hot day if you want to keep a little bit cooler. But today I'm going to come out here, although being out here, the downside is that very cold breeze is blowing straight into my face where it wasn't really. So you do have a bit of an option, and you can take this option all the way up Wood Lane. And in fact, walking up Wood Lane when it's been raining quite a lot, which it has been the last week, the combination of the soil and the chalk from the chalky hills can make it very, very slippy in parts. So if you're a cyclist looking at this, bear that in mind. If it's wet, it's very, very, very easy to fall off your bike if you tickle those brakes on the way down the hill. And I can assure you of that, because I've done it myself on more than one occasion. And walking too, in certain parts it can be very, very slippy underfoot. Surprising, it's almost like ice with water on it, it's so slippy. So other than those small hazards, you're not going to get eaten by any animals here in England or attacked by any, so it is a safe walk. And as I say, this is the first day, I think, for about a week where the sun has actually come out, and despite the fact it is rather chilly today, get the right gear on and you're ready to go. I was happily amazed and just happily amazed really how rural and tranquil it can be out here once you've left the village, bearing in mind the closeness to Luton, Stevenage, Bedford, big towns close by, and of course Hitchin itself, which is a walkable distance, quite a reasonable walk, but it is definitely walkable from here. And closeness of course to London itself, about 32 miles or just under 50 kilometres from the centre of London. So it's a very nice location in that regard, because you've got a bit of everything fairly close by. And did I mention Milton Keynes? That's not that far away either. Love them or hate them, they exist, and there's certainly lots of facilities and amenities in those towns. I'm not here to advertise this part of Hertfordshire as a fine place to live, although it is. The calmness and tranquility out here is so easy to achieve. So just looking over there where the sun is directly into the camera, and that is High Down. There's a farm up there called High Down, and you can walk across High Down. There are quite clear paths you can walk along, and I'll just, as I say, continuing just off Wood Lane, just next to it in the field. There was a sign suggesting that you shouldn't walk in this field, but that appears to have disappeared now, so maybe on the technicality you're not, but I don't think you'd have too many problems as long as you keep to the footpath that's emerged through people's footprints, and behave yourself and don't do things that you shouldn't, like litter or whatever else. So respect the farmer's land. I'm sure the farmer will respect you too. Having said that, this is a slightly makeshift routing that I'm taking purely and simply to take advantage of the rather weak warmth coming from the sun this morning. And again, there's just a little gap in the hedge here. Watch this, it can be rather slippy on days like this. And you can just nip through into the next field and of course you walk round the field, not across the field. Just up here ahead of me again is that's Wood Lane. We're walking back towards it at the moment, and there's a little stopping off point for someone that may need to just have a drink or catch their breath. There's a little seat you can sit on there, which is nice. I've always thought the seat should be pointing in the other direction, mind you. Looking out over the high down, but for whatever reason they decided to have it pointing there. So okay, so this is where the sign used to be saying it's private land, but that seems to have gone now. So I think there's an element of tolerance here that if you keep to this pathway under the trees, you'll be fine. I know that during the pheasant season they do have pheasant hunts or shootings, whatever you call it, just over there in the woods. So I'll be probably inclined to stick to the footpath on those occasions. Although they do have obviously safety guys with their red flags and things to warn the people with their guns. It's always nice, dependent on your view really, it's always nice to see country activities like that on the go. I personally quite enjoy seeing them, even if I wouldn't necessarily take part in them myself. So, Tingley Wood, another quaint little name for you to conjure with. And then when we get to the top of this part of the walk, where you could take the quick route down to the View pub at Pegsdon, which I shall point out, we'll be arriving at Knocking Hoe Nature Reserve, or Knocking Knoll with a K, Knoll. So again, another quaint little name. The Knocking Hoe Nature Reserve itself is quite an interesting place just to have a little wander around. There's nothing much there other than raw nature really, and it's quite a nice place if you were to park either at Pegsdon or at Pirton and take a walk up to, and bring a rug and some flask of tea and coffee and sandwiches and what have you. It'd be a nice place to sit for a while, maybe on a slightly warmer day than today. Now I'm sure on the screen it looks glorious, and indeed it is glorious, but it's not really the weather for sitting on the ground eating sandwiches, although hot coffee probably would be fantastic right now. Of course, do, as I say, have the alternatives of the pubs at each end of this walk. Great place to, if you have a wood burner or an open fire, to collect some kindling in a bag to help light your fire, rather than buying those overpriced and probably not too carbon footprint friendly bags of kindling from certain shops. I mean, transported halfway around the world in a plastic bag, so you can always add that into your walk and get yourself a couple of pounds worth of kindling at the same time. Plenty of it up here. Start to fall into the shade of the woods as the sun's not risen very high yet. This is where you have to leave the makeshift pathway next to Wood Lane and return back onto Wood Lane. I was up here the day before yesterday, I think, and it was absolutely pouring with rain, so this was almost like a little river at this point. Seems to have dried up a bit since, but this is where it can get a bit claggy and muddy and slippy and whatever else, certainly if it is actually raining. But it's not too bad today. It's still very wet and muddy, but Nothing a decent pair of shoes can't handle, walking boots. And we're just coming up to probably the second highest part of this walk, Knocking Knoll or Knocking Hoe Nature Reserve, and then we'll take a walk back down through the woods, cross over the Hitchin to Barton Road, the B something, I can't remember, I never can remember it, and head on up to Deacon Hill, where we'll just take a little walk around the top there, head back down to Pegsdon, and if you've taken the long route like today, that would be your first potential stopping off point for some refreshment. Right, so we've got up to the top here. If you take a left over there, that'll bring you down to the Hitchin Barton Road, and an alternative route to the one I'm taking today. Alternatively, you can also walk to a place called Little Offley or Welbury, part of the upper road that is directly adjacent to the end of that path, and that's a nice stroll too. Right, so here we are at Knocking Knoll, Knocking Hoe Nature Reserve. We're pretty much on the Hertfordshire Bedfordshire border here. I'm not sure precisely where it is, but I'm confident that I'm not stood very far from it, if not actually on it. I seem to think this footpath forms part of the border in places. So, if we were going to just take the shorter of the two routes down to the pub in Pegsdon, should just get to this little T-junction, so to speak. You would take a right turn. We will in fact come back. We'll come back that way in an hour or so's time. That'll be my return journey, or it would indeed be your return journey if you just took the shorter route out and back. So yeah, so you would head over here, Knocking Hoe Nature Reserve is the entrance is just there. You can go and sit inside there. There's usually some sheep and wildflowers in the summer, butterflies and so on, which is a very pleasant environment to sit down and, as I say, have a bit of a picnic. Now we'll be coming back this way a little bit later on. You can just about see Pegsdon over there, but you would two routes. You either continue down to the bottom and take a left, or you continue halfway down and take a left and just follow the path until you reach what is billed as being a private road, but it's only private for vehicles. You can walk along it back towards the village of Pegsdon and you'll see the pub. You can't miss it. It's called The View. However, as I said before, we're going to take the longer route today, which continues on Wood Lane. We go through the woods here, down to the bottom, take a left turn, and we'll come out at the Hitchin to Barton Road, where we'll cross over. Beware, cars do go along there fairly quickly, so particularly if you've got some small ones with you, make sure that they don't just go rushing out onto that road, because it can come along very quickly. Probably hear the aeroplane there from probably heading into Luton Airport. That's about 8 to 9 miles away from here. Right, so we've taken that left turn down the bottom and just walking on the flat now back up towards the Hitchin to Barton Road. Now, this is a lovely walk if you've got a dog as well that likes to go on nice long healthy walks, but beware, there are parts of this walk that are through permissive fields, so they're quite often at certain times of the year sheep and their lambs grazing, so obviously bear that in mind with regards to keeping your dog on a lead. But there's a lot of parts of this walk where they'll be able to just run around safely without causing any bother. I'm sure you're all responsible dog owners and all know that already, but just in case you don't like going on walks where you have to keep your dog on a lead and you've not been on this one before, please do bear that in mind, that there are parts of it at certain times of the year where you probably would have to pop your dog on a lead, particularly if it's the kind of dog that is likely to want to, let's say, make friends with some sheep or lambs. Beautiful through here with the sun coming through the trees. Just getting up towards the road now. You can probably hear some traffic. We'll soon be past that and heading back uphill again to the highest point of this walk, which will be the top of Deacon Hill. Right, so just approaching the Hitchin to Barton Road. You see Deacon Hill poking through the trees there. And I know all of you hill walkers from Cumbria and Derbyshire will think that's not a hill, that's a pimple. Well, for Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire, it's a hill. For you, it's a pimple. I totally agree. But it is a quite accessible hill and something quite nice to wander up to the top of. Getting into the inconsiderate human being zone here, there's a kind of a little lay-by just at the end of the path where some individuals, some seem to find it okay to fly tip or just chuck their rubbish. Doesn't actually look too bad today. Looks like the council have been dispatched again to get rid of stuff that's just chucked here. I suppose there's an awful lot anyone can do about it. I doubt the £100 fine that it mentions there is going to stop anybody. So, as you see, quite a busy road. Just be careful getting across here. Then you've got this stile to navigate, and you're into the fields. You just follow the path. This is where you'll find sheep usually, certainly during the lambing season. They'll all be running around out here, which is nice. And we're heading to the top of Deacon Hill, where there is a trig pillar. And you'll certainly, if you take the OS number from it, you'll be able to pop that into any GPS and it will tell you exactly where you are, if you didn't know already. There is an alternative route, in fact, to Pegsdon by going down that way that saves you going up the hill. However, I'm going to go that way up to the top of the hill and back down the other side of it, down to the village of Pegsdon. So, made it across the first field and into the second through this gate. And the final little slog to the top of Deacon Hill. Now, what I didn't mention earlier on actually, which I perhaps should have done, when I was talking about getting to either Pegsdon or Pirton, if you don't want to drive or walk from Hitchin, there is a bus service to Pirton. It's fairly infrequent. It's the 89 bus. If you Google Pirton bus 89, you'll get all the information from the bus company. You can of course take advantage still for the next I think 12 months of the £2 fare cap on buses. I think normally it's nearer to £3 from Hitchin. You could of course do that to get out here, or indeed if you want a really long walk out from Hitchin and out through Pirton, out here back and get the bus back. But you would have an element of planning required for that, because you might be waiting for a bus for a long time. However, if you time it right, you can always sit in the pub and wait for that bus to turn up. The bus stop is directly opposite, and in fact it's where I stood when I started this video. I'll stop videoing for a moment, otherwise I'll just be deep breathing on here. Right, breathing back to normal now, back at the, right, well, I am back at, maybe it's your first time, at the top of Hitchin Hill, and you will see some very strange earthworks, which I believe is to do with, back in the day, collecting chalk, wheeling it back down the hill, and possibly even these dips and gaps were used as shelter as well. So there's your trig pillar, which has taken on a number of different colours over the years. Somebody, don't know who it is, comes up here and gives it a little paint. It was pink once, in fact you can still see the remnants of the pink there, but that was good many years ago, and it's obviously since been painted blue, and that's starting to flake off, so they need to get their pot of paint and paintbrush back out again. There's your ordnance survey reference number. Yeah, I'll just put in Hitchin Hill in any good online map and you will find it. And despite the relatively low height of this hill, you do get some quite spectacular views over Bedfordshire and all the countryside. From here you've got two options again. There's a longer walk where you can walk around the cutting over there, back over the other side where those cows are. You just see those on there, I think. And walk back down to the village of Pegsdon, which is just there. That will add probably about a mile on the entire walk, but I'm going to take this walk today and straight down here. And I just watch your foot in. There's lots of rabbit burrows up here. Quite easy to turn your ankle if you're not careful. Just watch where, especially if there's any snow on the ground or something like that, you could end up going down a rabbit hole. So I'm going to stop videoing for a minute so I can give myself slightly better balance. It's still a bit slippy here, and this particular route wouldn't be fantastic for anyone with mobility issues. It's you do need to be fairly good on your legs, certainly for this last bit down here. The longer walk around in that direction is flatter, although it's again it's not ideal for anyone with mobility issues. In flip-flops either. Right, so in the shadow of the hill now, so the temperature's dropped a good few degrees. I'm going to crack on and get back down into the sunshine down the bottom and head towards the first potential stopping point that could offer you some refreshment, namely the View pub in Pegsdon. It won't be open yet either, unless they open very early for breakfast or something. It may well do, but I would factor in coming here during normal pub opening hours if you wish to pay them a visit. Right, so we're getting back down to the road level where the Hitchin to Pirton Road that we crossed over earlier on. We've just basically come round in a little loop, and as I said, when we climbed over that stile to get you into the first field after the road, I said you can also take a shorter route, not involving walking over the hill. Just ahead of me there by the tree, by the hedge, is where you would walk in a straight line next to the road, and when I get to the bottom here I'll be taking a left and joining that same path through to where I can cross back over the road there to the other side and into the village of Pegsdon. Also, while I'm talking about this, if you were to not bother going to Pirton at all or doing this particular walk, Pegsdon is another good place to drive to, and there are a number of really good walks you can do up to Telegraph Hill and to the village of Pegsdon, where you'll find a pub called the Raven. Again, it's a nice little round trip you can take that incorporates 2 pubs, places to park, and of course refreshments before, during and after a nice circular walk. So that's worth looking up. I think, if I remember correctly, if you look at the Go Jauntly app, for example, the circular walk incorporating Pegsdon and Hexton is in there, and if you find yourself in either village, you will also find the pub without any difficulty whatsoever. And if of course you're feeling extremely energetic, you could combine both walks, and you've got 3 pubs to take your pick from. I do not have time for that today. I've definitely got time for this. Right, so here we are back at the Hitchin to Pirton Road, the B whatever it is, and so this is where you would have come from if you'd taken a slightly shorter route, and I'm now joining it. Right, just for comic value, just in case I happen to slip on my backside here, this particular part of this path can be, when it's wet, extremely slippy, and it looks that way today, so I'm going to have to be ultra careful. It hasn't rained for about 24 hours, so it's not quite as bad as it can be, but believe you me, you do need to try and keep at least 1 foot on the grassy bit to keep a bit of grip. I feel it slipping away under my feet here. I think we're going to be okay, unless I get too confident. But this can be a bit of a problem on a wet day if you are not that great on your feet. And I seem to have negotiated that reasonably well. So sorry, I haven't got any embarrassing outtakes to give you. This is an interesting little thing here, those mounds, I'm sure you can just kind of see them. I thought hello when they appeared. I thought maybe someone had done the noughties and sold these fields off for development, but thankfully no. I'll just remind myself in a minute. There's a sign here that explains what they are, because I imagine a lot of people saw that and thought, who's given planning permission over there for that? It appears to be something to do with a university that is creating habitats for butterflies. There's some unique butterfly species here in the Toot Hills, and other insects and wildflowers, and that's what that's all about. Just go and get the butterfly banks. There you go. And Wildlife Trust for Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire and Northamptonshire is working with the University of Cambridge's Department of Zoology. There you go. Yeah, hadn't quite remembered it right. So yeah, Cambridge University, along with the Wildlife Trust, are butterfly banks. Does anyone know of any more butterfly banks anywhere? But it sounds to me to be a fantastic idea. And if of course you are into looking for wildflowers, and I mean looking at them, not taking them away with you, and butterflies, then look up the Chiltern Hills, the Chiltern Chalky Hills, and you'll get some fine information. In fact, there's a number of signs actually that will explain to you what wildlife, flora and fauna there is available to look at over here, if that's your thing. Right, so just going to go through this gate over here, cross over the busy road again, and I'll come back to you when we get to the pub. So I'm not going in it, but we'll certainly walk through the car park of it. This is the only section of this walk where you actually have to walk along the road. You've got a couple of small village roads to walk through briefly, and cross this road twice. However, this is the only section for about 100 metres approximately where you walk along the road, along this footpath. So once again, if you've got the little ones with you, be careful, because these cars do come through here, through this 40 mile an hour speed restricted zone at very often nothing less than 60, so just be a bit careful about that. Right, coming up to a pub that is now called The View, formerly the Live and Let Live, which had a bit of a checkered history to say the least. I cannot give you a definitive description of how it's all operating now, but at least the sign outside advertising open all day for food and drinks, 12 till 8:30. Is that all day? I presume they mean it doesn't stop during that time. So there you go. I cannot give you a definitive report of what this pub is like now, because I've not been in, but I did go in the Live and Let Live, and on occasions the service was absolutely diabolical and shocking. But I'm sure now that as it's got some new, it's a different business, different people running it, things will have improved. I would hope so anyway. I guess if you go to TripAdvisor and pop in The View at Pegsdon, they might be able to, someone might have recently posted some reviews of it there, but I would disregard anything relating to the Live and Let Live for the reasons I've just given. Anyway, you just it's only a small village, there isn't much here, there's no shop. The only real business here as such is the pub itself, whereas back in Pirton there is also a shop that's kind of open normal shop hours during the daytime, nothing extended beyond that. So if you want anything other than drinks from a pub or food, you'll need to bring it with you. Now here we go. We're heading on back round towards to the short route. If we'd taken the short route from Knocking Knoll down where I showed you and mentioned at the end of it you'll come to a private road. This is that private road. It's perfectly okay to walk along it, despite what the sign says, that's for vehicles, and it is the road that leads to a farm. Once we've walked along here for a little while, you'll come to some clear signs that instruct you not to continue any further, because it's not a public footpath, and really there's no reason for you to continue anyway, other than by mistake, as it just leads into a farm. Unless you've got business at the farm, you take a right turn and we head back over the hill to the top of Knocking Knoll. There's a couple of little routes you can take when you take that route. One involving some steps and one involving just a hill. I will take the steps today. I find that a more pleasurable place to go. But if you don't like walking up steps, the other way is the one for you. So here you have here you have a couple of signs telling you not to park your car, no parking, private land, which it is at this point. Beyond that sign up there, I guess. Clearly there must have been an issue of people just bringing their cars down here. And then another even bigger sign saying private road from this point onwards, no cyclists, no walkers, and the actual public footpath sign. So if you do stray beyond this point, you've not been paying attention. You take a little walk across the field here. This could be just a clean holiday. So it's actually not too bad. Just ahead you'll see we're coming to straight on some steps. That's from one side of the woods, so you take a left turn and walk down that way. Either way around, you go up the steps to the end and turn left. And you take a left turn here to the end and turn right, and you end up back into the same place. These steps have been recently repaired, so they're a lot better to walk up than they used to be, but they still can be quite a slog if you're not used to walking up stairs. And then once you get to the end of the steps here, it just becomes a kind of a muddy hill. So again, it can be a little bit on the slippy side, but if you take it steady, shouldn't have too many problems. Incidentally, it's December now, and just by the side of the path, if you collect cones for your Christmas decorations, spraying them silver and such things like that, here is an ideal place to go and collect some cones. Thousands of them. It's occurred to me someone might not know what I mean by cones. So, these little beauties. Cones. Anyone else call them anything else? Well, so certainly gets the old heart pounding a little bit there. There's Deacon Hill again. We've walked over the top. Is it he or she? Over it. And we're back around this way now. And just as you get to the top, as I say, you go up the steps and along the path, and when you get to the end of that, you take a left. If you take the other way without the steps, down to the end, take a right. The 2 points will meet fairly shortly, just over these hills, little hills here. And the woods there are the ones we walked through just before arriving at the Hitchin road just over there. So this has been a very nice circular walk this morning in some very fresh winter weather. But the sunshine out really lifts the spirits, and the fresh air too. It is actually a Friday today, and it's about 10:30 in the morning now, I think, without quickly looking. And I've not seen too many people about. Seen a couple of people over the hill there walking their dog. If you come up here on a bank holiday or at the weekends, you will for sure see quite a lot more people, but it certainly won't seem crowded, that's for sure. So we're back to the same kind of view. The white building there, that's the farm that you would get to if you carried on down that road back there. And I'm sure they don't want you wandering into their land unless you obviously are supposed to be going there. Well, there we go. So we're back onto Wood Lane now, and that kind of completes the circular part, and it's a backtrack now of about a mile back to the village, and I shall conclude this video once I get there, as it's essentially exactly the same as we go back down the hill that we came up about an hour and 3/4 ago. So I'll see you there. To the village, and just had a quick little check on my step counter and health app, and it's running at just under 6 miles actually, the grand total. So I'm thinking that the shorter route that I mentioned previously probably would be about a 5-mile round trip, maybe a little touch under that. So that's a good healthy walk for a Friday morning in the middle of December in the sunshine, and it's nothing like as cold as it was when I set off. So there's the pub over there. Still a bit early for me, but if you time it right, and indeed right ahead of us is the bus stop, so if you were to come here by bus, that would be where you would get off and enjoy the walk and the facilities. If you enjoyed it, click on like. If not, why on earth are you still watching? If you want to see some more content, press subscribe, and if you want to be notified when it comes out, press the yellow bell. So for now, from here in Hertfordshire, thanks for watching. I'll catch you again soon. Cheers for now. Bye bye.